What's up, guys? It's Dynasty from the Mountaintops. I'm Mickey, along with Jeremy and Jimmy. Jim, how you doing today?
Thank you for asking. Really, really great. I know everyone is very concerned about my weight loss journey. I'm officially down to 35 pounds now. I've lost. So doing great. I had my birthday about a week ago. I'm 38 now, and that just sounds gross. But otherwise doing great. Yeah.
Cool. Ackman, how about you, man?
No complaints. Trying to find out what to do in a post football world, but that's why we joined Dynasty. There is no off season. Ready to get into the combine and beyond. Ready to get into free agency.
Yes, and I'm very excited for the combine with some interesting things going on there. So I'm more excited about what comes out after the combine. So I get exactly what you mean there. So
By the way, Jeremy and I tried to get a trade done today. It did not go well, but we tried.
let's hear it.
No, it really wasn't much of a try. I mean, Jim has a price. Jim has a price, and I just don't want to meet that price to move back 5 spots. That's all.
Oh, it was a draft pick trade.
Yeah. Yes, he wanted the 101, so he offered, what was it, the 106, a second, and 2/3, if I remember correctly?
2/3, a second, and the 1/6. I'm just trying to move. It was just 5 spots. So it's like and James, rightfully so. I'm not downplaying it. I don't think. I personally think the ask is a little high for my spots, but it's 5 spots. I can't give up 2 firsts for 5 spots. That's asinine, especially when we're going to go through this mock draft here today. That is going to highlight various wide receivers and running backs that would be suitable for the 1-5, and I keep my picks, so it's fine. I'm not offended. It was over. I just can't. I can't. Yeah. Not, and there's not in any justification, world or league or player pre-draft worth 2 firsts to move back 5 spots.
And I would
not worth
disagree that not nearly enough, and that's where we're at. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm curious. So he said it wasn't enough. What would your price have been?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
I think it has to be at least a first. So I would want the 106 and another first. And
so
probably
that's 2 firsts. So that's 2 firsts. It's not a first.
I don't. It's Jeremy and I were talking about this on and we're already off on a tangent. And I'm sorry, but I think
no, this is good stuff because we're going to be talking about our mock draft. So this is perfect.
And in the years past, I would always be trying to move up into tiers. And I feel like the previous couple of years, the NFL draft helped us solidify those tier spots. Some guys moved up, some guys moved back. They didn't get the capital, but this year feels like more than anything, I need the draft capital more than I care about the players at this point, more than I ever have. And I think that's if I'm gonna move back, I'm not really moving back into a tier. I feel like more this year than other years. It's more about, I'm expecting. I need to know how many players are going in the first round this year, because I think running backs, it doesn't really matter where you go. If you go in the first round, your percentage is much higher that you're going to do well in fantasy. We can predict X amount of quarterbacks, X amount of receivers, but those running backs are such a wild card. I'm hearing anywhere from 3 to 5 to 7 running backs go in the first round. So if I'm going to trade back, I need to make sure I'm trading back into a tier where I know I can still get a first round running back, and I'm banking on people that it's Genty, and I don't know any other names, and I just want Genty. That's what I'm banking on, and I feel like I could have got more to trade back in the previous years. I don't think I can get as much this year, if that makes sense.
So absolutely. What I will say is, because it's not a quarterback going 101,
yeah,
it's going to be very difficult to get what a normal 101 is worth, if that makes sense. Even in Superflex, I don't think anyone is taking Cam Ward and or Shador Sanders, no matter if they go number 1 in the draft or not. So it's kind of a lock of Ashton Genty and Letty. Absolutely, yes.
I mean, last year you look at it, it could have been
spot.
Yeah, and it could have been I know I took Marvin Harrison in one league. It was easily the guy from Chicago. His name escaping me. For me to trade back to the 106 in previous years, I think I would have needed 3 first. This year, there's so many running backs. There's whatever you want in this draft. I feel, especially running backs. So I don't think I can. I'm not asking as much as I have in the past. Like if Jeremy would have came at me last year with this, I'm like, okay, it's gonna be the 106 and 2 more firsts. Like this year, I'm like, I think 1 first feels right. It's just a matter if I want to pull the trigger or not. That feels like that's a sweet spot, but it's still very early, and those picks are going to keep getting more exciting and keep accruing more value until then.
Yeah, no,
they only accrue in value based off what I can get. Like that's every draft is different. Like they're all accruing in value, but it's at the end of the day, it's all what I can trade them for. So it's small value or large value depending on what league.
Yeah, if I ever have the 101, I wouldn't. No matter what year it is, I wouldn't trade it for more than or any less than 2 firsts. Move back in the draft and get another one somewhere. So I agree with you. It doesn't matter what year it is.
Yeah. Like I like the 106. Like I think Jeremy's in a good spot. Like I don't blame him trying to move up. Like you know, like there's, you know, I'm a player that like I want to pick. I don't want to wait and let other people make decisions for me. I like to pick, and if I'm wrong, it's on me. Versus like, oh man, I didn't make a move, and this guy took the guy I wanted, and now he's a superstar. Like I like to pick, and if I'm wrong, but I want to pick.
Yep. No, I understand that 100%, and I understand why Jeremy didn't do it because he could get a better run. What ends up being a better running back.
Well, and he's
5 or 6, he still has his first round pick next time. So,
and in the moment, I want his picks. Like his picks are valuable to me, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But like, he's one of the teams that I want his picks, and I project him to be high. And I hope I'm wrong, Jeremy. But I hope I'm right.
That was a little bash session there for Jimmy on Jeremy, real quick.
Like, I mean, I've been telling him this for a while. Like this
around
is nothing.
Around
like,
the back there.
I wanted his first when they happened. I mean, he's picking 106. Like that's. I'd rather have those picks than some of these other guys. So like that just makes sense.
All right. Well, fighting words is what I heard. I don't know.
He's so quiet. I mean, heard his feelings.
Jeremy, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I thought
are you okay? Is your eyes a little teary-eyed? Do you need to wipe your tears away? Are you doing okay?
No. It's just, first off, you guys have just ran over this podcast once again, so I didn't have 5 seconds to speak. Second, I don't know why this is even being discussed because I am in agreement with the ask altogether. I just personally can't see moving 2 firsts to move back 5 spots. That was my beef. I have no issue with the trade whatsoever or your ask, so I have once again no idea why this is being talked ad nauseum. Third and foremost, that's fine. You can go ahead and feel about what you want with the league because, quite frankly, judging from the minimal discussions that we've had on this podcast, your judgment is dog shit because you've spent 3 years building a DVP league and you can't even place in money. And I am here 3 years in Dynasty.
Money. I am here 3 years in Dynasty
with 2 championships. So, like, I don't know where your beef is, but that's fine. I came on here to talk about a mock draft, and here we are 25 minutes in with no progress.
Well, that's how long the Zoom has been going on. We haven't been on for 25 minutes, Jeremy. That's how long the Zoom has been going on for.
You and I have been on for 25 minutes.
Huh?
You and I have been on for 25 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Well, with that said, let's get to the mock draft that Jeremy so much wants to get to here, and I do too, actually. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start with the mock draft. After the mock draft, we're going to talk about BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr., his insane year with Mac Jones at the second half. Insane. Have a little game if we have some time of keep, trade, cut, or play, drop, trade, drop, whatever you want to call it. And then we'll get out of here. So rookie mock draft, we are 12 teams, Superflex, half point PPR, tight end premium is 0.75. That is for Jimmy. So he can figure out when he wants to take a tight end. The exact moment.
I wasn't listening. What pick am I?
Now you're third. So
Yay!
Jeremy's going to be 1.
Do I need to jump into the mock draft?
No. Jeremy's going to be 1. I'll be 2. Jimmy will be 3. And then it'll just circle back. No snake, just same pick. So Jeremy will be 1, 4, so on, because my math is not mathing. So, Jeremy, you're up with the first pick of our little mock draft here. Who are you taking?
I'm not buying into the hype, and to relay into the previous 5 minutes discussion, I'm not taking Genty in this spot. Previous podcasts highlight that. I'm not sold on a 101 running back I'm not sold at the running back at that top tier value. The shelf life isn't there. The injuries are a lot more common. And in various leagues, the wide receivers are more popular. I'm taking McMillan here, and I would be taking McMillan in the 101 if I acquired that off of James. It was not a trade for GNT. I think the talent there is fantastic. I think he has tremendous NFL and fantasy upside. With comps already coming out with to Jamar Chase and Marv Harrison. I mean, I'm in. He has speed for deep threats. He has pocket presence for slots. I think he's a complete package, and I think he's overall going to be the best player out of this draft.
Wow. Okay. Well, you made my life a lot easier, for sure. I understand all of those points, and the other key I would say is, and I was going to say this: the only reason I wouldn't take Genty 101 for me personally is if I am not ready for the next 1 or 2 years. It's a rebuild for me. And if you're the 101, more than likely you probably are in a massive rebuild. So that's not a bad pick. I don't think at all. I love Tet. I think he's going to be great. Worried about where he's going to land, but we'll see about that here in a few.
And that's understandable, but I mean, I guess that's where we're at for every one of these players is where they're going to land. And to play into kind of what you're saying, I agree wholeheartedly with you, Mick. I think the running back position in the dynasty aspect is like the last piece. So I think like a complete talent like a GNT is good for somebody ready for that next step. And I'm talking like ready to go against the champion next year. Somebody who maybe landed 2, 3, 4 in, say, our league would be the one, in my opinion, to pursue GNT because that would be the last piece, if you will, that would be needed.
But I think you make a good point though too. Like supply and demand this year, there is a ton of supply of running backs. There's not receivers, so
yeah. I mean, like you mentioned earlier, like you said, like you mentioned your tiers. That's true, but like there's also, like you mentioned, there's 3, 4 running backs that you could argue maybe 5, and that could go in a dynasty first round.
Yeah, no, I get all that. So running backs are fewer and far between to find those gems. And when you find a guy that is projected top 15, they usually don't miss. I don't think they have missed in the NFL draft top 15. So with that being said, that's Barkley, Elliott, Bijan, Gibbs. So like these guys they don't miss. Even Fournette, he wants to not in the same caliber, but he still had a good career.
Right, but again, like I said, to the point, the running back, in my opinion, is the last piece. So like if I'm acquiring the 101, I want to have that wide receiver that's going to project me into the several years of that rebuild. Because again, we're looking at shelf life for wide receivers are far more superior than running backs, especially in a fantasy output. So I mean, looking at a 101 aspect here, I'm going for the longevity here, and I'm taking a wide receiver. All those running backs you've mentioned, they all can be traded. They all have been traded. Yes, those prices are there, but again, I'm going to either A, pay those prices to acquire the 101 or to get a GNT, or B, I'm not in the position to deserve a GNT draft pick because my team isn't worthy enough. So looking at those variables, I'm taking Tet in a position of a 101 over GNT.
All right, well, you made my pick a lot easier because if I'm the 101, I'm taking Genty. If I'm the 102, I'm taking Genty. If I'm the 103, I'm taking Genty if he's on the table at all. For multiple reasons, but the biggest one is this guy. I know he played at Boise State, but he played against Oregon. He played against Penn State. Penn State, one of the better defenses in the country, and was able to go off. They lost, but he still had a really nice day. And his balance is insane, which is something I look for in running backs. So I think he's going to be a stud. I think he's going to be top 3 to 4 back in the league for 5+ years. So I'd be ecstatic if the first person didn't pick Genty and I was at the 102 and got Genty.
I'm glad I made your day.
I wish this was a real draft.
That's fine. I think we as the fantasy community tend to hold these fantasy players on a pedestal, and we become so thirsty and so horny for these players the second we have an ability to even think about them in an NFL world. Gianti was not somebody who was mentioned in all these years prior. Like, he's had a slow build into it, but this past year he has just insane numbers. But again, we can go into the numbers of what he did against actual legitimate defenses. I just think that because he has this flashy name and it's a position that everyone's so thirsty for, we haven't had a legitimate running back one coming out of a draft class in the past few days in the Superflex Dynasty. Everyone's so thirsty for this to be a hit. I'm not saying it's going to be a bust. I'm just saying that let's hold off on the 101s and let's evaluate the actual talent that's coming in that's going to provide you more of a dynasty type player rather than a redraft type player. And that is why I went with the 101 for Tet over Gianti.
Interesting. All right, sounds good. The 101, the 102 in my eyes are the exact same as well, just flipped. So I can understand that, Jeremy. If you took Genti, I was taking Tet. So it's not like I don't like Tet and you don't like Genti. It's just.
And I mean, to your point, like I said, I don't think Genti's going to be a bust. If I have the opportunity to take both Tet and Genti, I'm taking Tet. But to your point, like you said, yes. If the same exact situation happens and Genti falls to me at a 102, I'm taking him 10 times out of 10 because that is something that I can already flip for a little bit more value.
Okay, perfect. All right, Jim.
Okay, I'm going to go in the opposite direction of Jeremy. Is one thing I'm not doing this year is making bets. I'm not trying to fall in love with players. I'm trying to find who does the community love. Like, how do I find like our leagues? Like, who do they love? And I know the one player that's been so hot right now and people seem to be falling in love with like crazy is Quinshon Judkins.
Oh. Did not expect you to say him.
Not at 3 now. Continue, James.
Yes.
Like it.
I think he's going to be someone that we look back and he's going to be pushed up these drafts quite a bit. He's someone that the community knows because they were in the championship game. He had a great game. Like, I'm looking at and you know me, like these are stocks for me. I don't view so much the player, and I think that's why I said I was going the opposite way of Jeremy. I'm like, he's looking at more like, are they going to produce? Are they good players? Where I'm looking at, what can I do with them? Genti has the hype, and Judkins has the hype right now, and I think that's what I want to lean into more this year. Is like I'm trying not to fall in love with these players, but hey, who does the community love? The community loves Quinshon Judkins right now, and I can do more with that. All I need is one big run, one highlight. I'm like, I can sell him for so much more than what I'm paying today for the 103. So I'm gonna go more with like who I think is going to be able to be hyped, who's liked, who looks good on a Wheaties box, and who can I flip down the road pretty easily.
All right, man. That was a shock to me. So we're already a little bit different than most mocks I've ever seen.
The name and position doesn't shock me, but the logic behind James wanting to flip, that doesn't. Drafting with intent to sell does not surprise me with Jim.
So before we move on, I do want to let everybody know this is drafting for each team, not your own team.
Yeah.
Okay. So even though you got a receiver, you don't have to get something different. We're just drafting best players. With that being said, Jeremy, you're up again.
Okay. And then that being said, then at this position, I am now taking a running back, and I'm taking Hampton out of North Carolina. I think he has lead back potential. I think he is very close to a GNT. Like, okay, you have the tiers. Okay, so we'll go into Jim's aspect. We have GNT's. If we're going to put GNT in his own tier, that's great. I'm putting Hampton RB1. I like Jim's pick. I would put him, say, the second or maybe third in that tier. But I'm going to go with Hampton here. He's proven to have the longevity. He has 1,500 yard seasons 2 years in a row, 15 touchdowns 2 years in a row. I'm all in on Hampton's potential being a starting back coming into the gate by week 3.
So that's actually who I thought Jimmy was talking about, because all I've heard is Omarion Hampton's the second best running back in this draft. That's all I've heard all year.
It's funny though, like
the last 4 months.
I know more about Quinshon Judkins than I do about Omarion Hampton. I hear Omarion's the second best player, but I don't know much about him. But I do know.
Listen to Mel Kiper Jr. That's all I'll say.
Which is fine, but
he absolutely loves him.
Most of the players we play with in our across our things, they're casual fans, right? Like they probably watch college football on TV. Like they're not doing deep dives or listen to podcasts. Like some of them do, but not all of them. And who are they going to know more about? Judkins at this point. That's my point. Is like we're being told Amari Hampton is the second best running back, but I can't tell you why. But I can tell I've seen Quinshon Judkins. I've seen him break tackles. I've seen him go on these long runs. I've seen him win a national championship. I know more about him at this moment.
I 100% understand that. And I was actually debating between two players, and you talking about Judkins made me pick Trevion Henderson. And the reason for that is same reason. National champion. From what everyone said, if he would have came out last year, he was the number one running back in the draft. So people know about him from last year too, if you paid attention even a little bit. So with that being said, the namesake or the name recognition is definitely there for him. Also, he's fast as can be, which I love.
Hey, it's easy for me. It's super flex. I'll go Cam Ward. This is, I think, great value. I don't think this is going to be like 2022 when you had Kenny Pickett and no one was really excited about him anyways.
I was. Well, and I was wrong.
Yep.
Crickets.
And that happens, but
although he has a ring,
but he still held value for 2 years. Like that's the crazy part. He still held value for 2 years. He still was a starter. So no matter what happens, I am guaranteeing a super flex starter for 2 years if these guys go top 10, top 5 like they're projected. If that happens, great. If they don't, then this would not be my pick here. I would keep going running back or receiver or tight end. But I think 106 in a super flex league, and anytime you can draft a quarterback, they're so much cheaper to draft them. Like you and I talked about this, Mickey, when Kenny Pickett was available and you were on the clock. Like, what do I do here? And I'm like, the reality is this is the cheapest you'll ever be able to acquire a quarterback is through the draft without paying multiple first. And if he hits, he's great. His value will skyrocket from the 106 on. If he doesn't, he's a 2-year starter for me, and then I will figure out things in 2 years. But regardless, he's going to start for 2 years.
Yeah, and if he hits at the 106, your team is great.
Yeah.
Because you already have almost there. Good quarterback on top of it.
If I'm drafting the 106, most likely I probably have one really good quarterback. My second quarterback is probably struggling. That's probably why I'm here. I probably have some other holes, but I can guarantee you if I'm drafting 106, that second quarterback is probably my issue. Because otherwise, if you had two dominant quarterbacks, you're probably in the playoffs. Because you have the advantage bigger than anyone else in the league.
This sounds eerily similar to a personal issue of mine.
Well, you're on the clock, so go ahead.
No, what you're saying, it sounds eerily similar. Like if I have a 1-6 and I do have a quarterback missing on my team, so I mean, hey, maybe that plays into my hands.
Yeah, you did have 106. That's right. Before you pick on the 107, though, I have a question for both of you. So, would it be Cam Ward no matter where he goes, or does it matter with Shedeur Sanders? If Cam Ward's still drafted early or in front of him, does it matter, or is this just first quarterback 105, 106 that area?
Me personally, I like Cam Ward over Sanders regardless. Like, I think Sanders is getting a little inflated due to the last name, but I think also that last name and family tree is going to be a circus similar to like the Lonzo Balls of the NBA. So I'm taking Cam Ward in this situation overall based off of talent on field and potential circus off.
Once again, hype. I think Cam Ward has more hype. I think he's liked better than Shedeur. I think Shedeur runs people the wrong way, and people are going to be turned off from drafting him because of that. So I think Cam Ward's value will easily climb in value quicker and easier than Shedeur. I think Shedeur would have to prove it more to really accrue value versus Cam Ward.
And I'll just say about the circus thing that I've been hearing, Deion Sanders has a team to coach himself. Like he's not. There's no way that there's going to be a circus around Shedeur.
It's early. It's early. It already started. It already started a little bit with the mushroom cloud when he was rumored to be going to Dallas and kicking the tires and leaving college and everything like that. It was already brewing. I mean, that was January.
Oh, that's just
it's not so much. I mean, living in Colorado, it's not Deion. It's Shedeur. He just dropped a new record, and that's what's going to come up is, are you committed during these NFL interviews? And coming from Colorado, living it, once again, there's so many factors that factor into value, and that's like as a dynasty, like I don't want to miss on this pick, and Cam Ward feels safer, and he has to do less to get more value.
Interesting. All right. So we're halfway through. We had Tet McMillan, Ashton Genty, Quinshawn Judkins, I can't talk, Omarion Hampton, Trevion Henderson, Cam Ward, and Jeremy, you are up with the 107.
Ibuka's right here at the 107. I'm taking him. I think he has potential to jump right in there. Wide receiver 1. I think he is going to be one of the best PPR players in this league, in this draft class. I'm all in on this player. I'm all in on this position. I'm taking this at 107, 10 times out of 10.
So me and you talked about him a little bit before the podcast actually started. And I love Ibuka, especially with the non-diva mentality that he has to have to be the second guy every year, but could be the number one anywhere with his talent. So I like this pick, but there's a wide receiver I would take before him, which is what I'm going to do. Which
I think Ibuka is safer. He's not sexy.
That's why I'm going here. And that's why I'm going here. And that's why I went with the 101. I'm going with safety here. If I have first-round picks, I'm treasuring these first-round picks like my children, at least for now. And when I'm drafting these players, I'm utilizing these players, I see them in my future for 2-3 years. That's why I'm not drafting these to trade. I'm drafting so that's why I'm going with safety. That's why I'm going with longevity. And I'm looking, are these guys that are going to get me 3 to 4 years? Because that's how I plan on keeping them. So, so exactly what Jim said. Yes, I'm going with safety. Safety.
Well, at the 108, I'm going for arguably one of the best players in this draft. And I think might end up being the best player in this draft after it's all said and done, Luther Burden. At least wide receiver, at least skill position-wise. I love his skill set. And he's a number one receiver all day. So I don't have much to say about him. I love his tape. I love everything about this dude. He played in Missouri, so that's why he looked really bad with a horrible quarterback. But he's gonna be great with as long as he gets in a good situation. Obviously, if you got a bad quarterback, you can't be good. Ask Malik Neighbors. But well, he had a horrible quarterback. He's going to be good if one of these two young quarterbacks work, whoever they draft. So that wasn't a slight on Malik at all. Jim, 109.
I mean, I'll just take Shedeur Sanders. Keep leaving me quarterbacks in the super flex league. Like, this is, it's like borderline stealing money. Like, it's free value. Like, all I have to do is a little bit, and I'm going to get a return on my investment quickly. It's the same thing that applies to Cam Ward. 2-year starter guaranteed. If he goes high in the draft, top 10, like,
not necessarily.
My point is, a top 10 quarterback, they just have a longer leash. Even Anthony Rich, they benched him. Okay, go finish the year. Like, he still finished the year strong. So, like, I will get starts out of him. And sometimes it's, I think people make draft picks based off, oh, my God, I have a 10-year starter at this position. And that's old school thinking. Now it's like, okay, how am I getting points now? And a quarterback that's going to start for 2 years is going to get me points. And even if he's not great, if one team gets decimated by injury, guess what I can do? I can flip him to the team and still find more value. It won't be as much as him hitting, a Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen type level, but there will always be outs for me to get rid of him if he's not hitting.
So, Jeremy, before you go, if you were ready, I have a question for both of you again. I feel like I have one every third pick. Sorry. With both of these quarterbacks in both of these spots, or the 6 to 9 area, which is where I think the quarterback probably should go, because there's a lot of other talent out there. Would you trade one of these picks for another quarterback? And if so, how far down the list do you go to do 1-for-1? Where do you think these guys are going to be?
I can go. I think it depends on your team, right? If you're competing and you're that second quarterback or way like Jeremy was talking about earlier with his team, like, I mean, I don't know. I would probably give up 103, 104 easily for like a Baker or a Jared Goff. Like, give me someone proven that's going to start for 2 or 3 years. Like, that's easy money.
Right. But if you're picking Cam Ward at 106, why not just go out and get Trevor?
Because Trevor's going to be more expensive than the 106. Look at
Is
what we
he?
just talked about.
After coming off
No,
an
I think he will be.
Well,
If we're in a super flex team, these quarterbacks pricing and everything is just super inflated.
I'm going to bring this back to what we always talk about in action, right? Like, if we're having this conversation now, this is something that you should have been doing before the season even ended. Like, you were roughly going to know Trevor was out for the year. You knew roughly where your pick was going to fall at that point. Like, I would have traded the 106 during the season and got Trevor if that was available then.
No. We always say that the most valuable your pick is going to be is when your pick is up during the draft.
Right.
So then why wouldn't you trade him then?
I'm using Trevor as an example. Like, Trevor's lowest value point was during the season when he was on IR out for the season. That's my point.
I'm looking at it the other way. I'm the one with 106, and I'm going.
If we're looking, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. But if we're going with this exact example, 106 Cam Ward Sanders or Trevor Lawrence straight up, I'm taking Ward. I'm looking at this again. I always go for the longevity aspect, and I'm looking at, okay, Cam Ward's coming in here. He's going to be signed to a rookie deal, so he's going to be locked in for a few years. We have zip idea what the hell is going on in Jacksonville. Right. That is a mess. The coaching staff is gone. The GM Con is a hothead, and he's willing to blow up that entire thing. Like you mentioned, Lawrence is coming off of injury. Man, the Jacksonville Jaguar team is a ticking time bomb, which we can go into with the BTJ discussions later. But if we're going with this example in particular for Trevor Lawrence, I'm taking Cam Ward. But again, we're all playing Houdini here because we have no idea where he's going to land. Cam Ward in Cleveland or Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. That makes me a little bit more intrigued in what to do.
I have thoughts too, so go ahead, Mickey.
My point here, though, is that I think these two guys are going to fall in the draft. The more I hear, not super far, but not going to be 101, 102, 103. I just don't see it.
I think they're going to be pushed up.
Because of the talent, no one.
I think the quarterback tag and it not being 17 quarterbacks deep is going to push them up. I agree with Jim. But in the same sense, go ahead. What?
We made this mistake 3 years ago as well when people were pushing Malik. I don't remember Malik Willis.
We made this mistake last year.
What do you mean?
Penix and Bo Nix should never have gone in the second round of these
Bo Nix played like he should have been, and Penix.
No, I'm just saying before the season, I drafted Bo the 205. That should never have happened in a super flex league.
But if both of those two players, I'm talking about the NFL draft, to be honest with you. If both of those two players are in this draft, they're the 101.
Yeah.
No questions asked. And we only have 1 year on that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think the quarterback class is good. Okay, so I guess I'm confused on what we're talking about. In an NFL real-life scenario draft, I think the quarterbacks do take a hit.
I think we bring this all together. World, so I agree with you, Mickey. The 106 on the clock, more valuable when it's on the clock. Completely agree. The issue you're going to have is, yes, I would love to trade the 106 for a proven quarterback, but it also takes two to tango. And, if you're a good team, you're not going to just get rid of your QB2 for the 106 probably because you're
that's what I'm saying. It's going to cost more. It's going to be more.
I don't know if it would. But also, if you're a bad team, quarterbacks are the one proven asset. I don't know if I would want more risk trading a Jared Goff, to go draft another quarterback. I think that's the point is, it's tricky. It's easy to say, I would trade a 104, 105 for a quarterback, but it also takes two to tango. And I think quarterbacks are still a dime a dozen in these leagues. And anytime you're trading a quarterback, you're taking an area of strength and really becoming a weakness. And then you're taking on more risk with these rookie quarterbacks. And I'm not sure if that's a move that I would ever make. I'm not trading a Jared Goff for the 106 to go take Cam Ward when I already have the proven Jared Goff. I don't know if I would ever do that. For me, if I'm going to make that move, I'm waiting and 112, 2-1 can I go buy in and take a flyer on a Jackson Dart, a Milrow. And if I get there, great. And if I don't, that's not going to cost me anything. But I don't know if I would trade a quarterback for a pick. The risk for quarterbacks are already so high. I don't want it. That's too risky for me.
No, I agree. I agree with that. I agree with that logic.
Didn't mean to go on that long tangent. I was just curious because when I look at the 106 or the 109, and I'm like, I have no faith in these guys. Could I do something different? Just to put that out there for everybody. Moving on, 110.
TE Premium League, I'm pumped that Tyler Warren fell to me here. I'm taking Tyler Warren out of Penn State.
Well, if you guys would have taken a quarterback instead of leaving them all for me, I would have taken him. But like you guys kept leaving me quarterbacks.
I would have kept the quarterbacks until the second round. I do not trust these quarterbacks at all.
And if we want to call back to previous pods, Jim refers to know your league. And I know there's a guy on my team in my league named Jim who is obsessed with quarterbacks. So I know he's going to take them all, and Tyler Warren's going to fall to me. So it was all logic.
All right.
But I am taking Warren here. Lead receiver for Penn State past 2 years, like 1,100 yards, I believe it was, 8 touchdowns. Dude's a monster. He's 6'6", like 261.
He can move.
He can move. He's shifty as heck. He can block. He can catch. He can run. He's fast. Like I think I'm pumped at 110 in a TE Premium League with him falling to me.
I am shocked we actually waited this long for him. I think by the time we find out where he's at and our actual drafts come, he's going to be in that 106, 105, 107.
Yeah, I agree. I think top 7. I think top 7 is fair.
Going to end up. He is a stud. I can't stand Penn State. And I love this kid. All right, I think it's finally time to take
a quarterback. Someone else can take a quarterback.
No, it's time to take the biggest gamble in the entire league. If he plays wide receiver, he's the number 1 wide receiver. If he doesn't, then you basically waste the 111. But this is the spot, probably 110, 111, 112, end of the first round, where if he falls here, this is where I got to take Travis Hunter. Because if he ends up playing wide receiver regularly,
he'll probably be the wide receiver 2 off the board.
You 100% have the steal of your draft. Because he is a stud wide receiver, but he's just as good of a cornerback, and a lot of people need cornerback more than wide receiver. Jim, final pick.
Well, I'm taking another quarterback. I hate you guys. I'm going to take Jackson Dart. Yeah.
All right. Well,
and this once again, he's got to go in the first round. There is so much hype. Like I said, this mock for me was hype and value, and he's got hype, and he's a big arm, strong guy. He can easily.
Apparently doesn't have hype for sleeper.
Not yet.
He's someone that if he goes in the first round, he's going to get pushed way up in these drafts. And I'm already hearing rumors that he's going to get – the NFL teams love him. And he's going to, I think, go a lot higher in the NFL draft than you think. Dart, if he hits, he's going to gain so much value. And so I think, like I said, he has to go in the first round. If he gets drafted in the second round, I'm not taking Jackson Dart here. I would easily take Caleb Johnson, who I think will also go in the first round. But I'm getting on value once again. Caleb Johnson's also the one that's like I know him, I know his name. I hear he's supposed to go in the first round. I can't tell you one thing about him. I've never seen him have one carry.
For Iowa, they're born. Yeah, I get it.
Oh, I know where he's from. I know his name. I know where he's from.
I'm just saying, like he plays for Iowa. It's not a good offense, so they run the ball.
He's not sexy.
That's all I got.
Jackson Dart is sexy, and he's going to have that value. And people are going to know his name by when it gets closer to the rookie drafts. And I think all these three quarterbacks, I got great value on them. I think they're all going to get pushed up, but I think the message though, regardless, is there's a lot of value in this draft.
So as of right now, I don't think he's a first round pick in your rookie draft. However, this is another one. By the time we find out where he's going, this is my favorite quarterback in the draft.
Yeah.
I love the fact that everyone else says he's the number 3 because I will gladly take him late first. Every time.
And and this is where I think of our golf 14 team. I'm like, I don't want to walk away with 3 quarterbacks, but also, like Jeremy said, know your league. Like this is, I'm completely shutting down the quarterback market again. It's just how you play drafts. I can't wait for rookie drafts. I think this is going to be one of the more intriguing drafts in a very long time because there is a little bit of everything, but also the scarcity out there is real for everything but running back and tight end to an extent.
Yeah, and I think the wide receiver class not being strong is a little bit overblown. I think there's 4 to 5, depending on if Hunter is going to be a wide receiver or not are going to be
good. The issue is you're coming off 24 where you had all this hype, all these studs that they're all going to hit. And kind of most of them kind of did. And then you have this class where it's just a lot of question marks. You don't really know. I like Trey Harris. I like Bond. I like Neal. Some of these guys, but also a lot has to go right for these guys versus last year where just a little bit and they were fine versus this year it's I don't know what you're going to do. A lot more question marks.
Yeah, no, 100% understand that. And a couple other players just to keep on people's radar in case they didn't know. Colston Loveland, if he ends up in San Diego with his former head coach, I am putting him in the first round somehow. I don't know how, but that would be really exciting. And then you kind of said him already. Caleb Johnson is the only other one that
Ollie Gordon has a lot of hype. A lot of people know that name too.
Yeah,
he was one of the higher rated running backs coming out before this year, and he kind of fell off a little bit. So he's a name that keep an eye on during the draft.
Very true. So now we're going to switch gears a little bit. I think that was pretty good draft. A little bit of surprise there, but things happen. So we're going to move on to Brian Thomas Jr. Rookie last year. I think he finished top 5 in receiving fantasy wide receivers. I believe he finished 5th. I don't have that stat on me right now, but insane year. No one expected, right? At least I didn't. Maybe Jeremy did. I know this is one of the players you love, so if you want to crush on him for a minute, go for it.
No, man, he's cut from that LSU wide receiver cloth. There's just some colleges that just put out players in a certain position that are just elite. You have the tight ends in Iowa. You got the wide receivers in LSU. Just look at the past ones that have come out. They're so incredible and they're so deep and they're so talented. Brian Thomas came from exactly that cut cloth. He's shown that he has Jamar Chase type tendencies. He has the speed. He has the hands. He has the deep threat. The dude has it all. And I don't want to say it didn't surprise me this year. I'm going to say maybe to an extent it surprised me how successful he was. But in my opinion, he was my second favorite wide receiver coming out of the draft class behind Neighbors. So to me, this was minimal surprise on his talent.
Awesome. So what I thought we could do, I don't know where Jimmy went, but what I thought
I'm listening.
Jimmy actually brought this up to me, was look at a few trades that were going on with Brian Thomas in them. We're just going to do this for about 5 minutes and then we're going to head out. And see where his stock is right now, and what we would do. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right. So looking here, this is the first one that just blows my mind. 12 teams, start 10, 4-point pass touchdown, 1 point PPR, Superflex. Brian Thomas Jr. for a 2026 first, 2026 second, 2026 third, and Terry McLaurin. Brian Thomas Jr. by himself. What do you think about that, Jim?
These are tough. I wish I'd like to know just the team because if I'm on the younger end, I would want Brian Thomas Jr. If I'm competing, I probably would want Terry McLaurin in the first.
In the pick, yeah.
I smashed the Terry McLaurin in the first.
But if I'm younger, this, I don't know. Yeah, if it's my 26 first, I probably would not, just accrue Brian Thomas for that. But I think I'm lower in Brian Thomas than I know at least Jeremy. But I don't really care about a second and third. But it's I'm more seeing is McLaurin in a first for Brian Thomas, and yeah, I'd probably do that if I'm going for it.
All right, Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Washington, or CeeDee Lamb, Jeremy.
I'm taking CeeDee Lamb here. I know, like I said, my Brian Thomas love is there, but I'm going for a little bit more proven talent. I'm looking for a guy who signed up with his quarterback for the next 4 years. And I'm looking for the wide receiver one in the past few fantasy leagues. Vaguely, I'm taking him here. And again, I will recall vaguely what I talked about with Jacksonville. That's a ticking time bomb over there. Trevor Lawrence is coming out of an injury. We have no idea what the coaching scheme is going to be. It's going to take a little bit to get that adjusted to. So I think I'm taking CeeDee Lamb in this deal.
All right, I would too. by the way.
Can you go down to the Brian Thomas for the 3 first and go back to our mock draft? I'm just kind of curious. So what was it? It was
I don't see
the 105 was.
Brian Thomas Jr. for 105, 109, and the 202.
No, yeah. Who was the 105 in our mock draft?
I can pull that up, maybe. 105 was Trevion Henderson.
So would you do Trevion Henderson, Shedeur Sanders, and let's call him Caleb Johnson? Would you do that for Brian Thomas?
Well, 202 probably would be Colson Love.
We're just throwing out a name. It doesn't.
Probably not.
I think I would.
With those names, probably not.
You're probably getting three.
I would
starters.
need a little bit of realism here, and I would need to know the landing spots first.
Yeah.
Yes, but I mean,
it's not a no.
My point is, I like putting names to picks. Like, it's not just the 105, 109, 202. It's the names. I'm like, you look at Trevion and Shedeur Sanders and Caleb Johnson, for example. Like, that could be 3 starters on your team. And yes, I like Brian Thomas, but his ceiling is just lower.
Now, I will say, if that ends up being Tyler Warren, Jackson Dart, where I think he's going to end up, and we can stick with Caleb Johnson. I probably would do that.
Damn. See, now Jim, now you got me thinking here, because
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's a great question, Jim.
Yeah, because it's not just the pick, because like you said, because now you're naming the players, because now you're dealing with value here. But like you're dealing with a Shedeur Sanders out of this, so now that's a quarterback in a super flex. So now that changes the value of this trade drastically, because you're dealing with obviously one of the key components of position, if not the key component of position. So yeah,
and that's looking just my point. I think this is good for all of our listeners. Like, when you're trying to make a trade, like, don't just say, "Oh, I got 3 picks for him." It's like, well, put a name to those picks. Like, start doing that now. Like, if you're making a trade, like Jeremy and I, like we were talking about possibly making trades. Like, it's like, is it he would have went Tech McMillan at the 101, or would it have been better to have the Cam Ward and whoever would have been at the second and 2/3, like that. Those are conversations, and that's how you should be making these trades when you're trying to move around the draft. Is like, okay, put names to players, and and what do you like better? Which trade comes out for you on the other side? Where do you find more value?
And that's exactly what I did earlier with the trade that you and I were discussing earlier. That ended up abruptly, because that's where I was at. I looked at it like, okay, well, I'm giving you that draft picks here, but if you're looking for 2 firsts, again, for the record, you guys pour into me, it's not a bad ask. It's just not an ask I want to do. But on that said, like in those aspects, with that in play, like I think I'm taking that Sanders deal. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, especially in like a start 10, start 11, like you're getting 3 starters for 1. And like I said, Brian Thomas, I think has an artificial value. Like, he's a sexy name, but as long as he has Trevor Lawrence throwing him the ball, and who knows how much longer that's going to be happening.
Like if Sanders lands somewhere decent, or even has somewhat of a subpar year, you're getting back a decent return for Sanders alone if you were in the flipping game, such as Jim is. So yeah, that's a good call out.
Yeah. I'm kind of looking through these here. Brian Thomas, Tyrone Tracy, 2025, 312 for McConkey. Malik Washington, 103. That kind
Who is Malik Washington? I do not know that name.
Malik Washington is baby Tyreek in Miami. He is
the guy who did nothing last year. Okay.
Basically, yes.
He came from Virginia. He's been highly touted as
he's useless. Okay. Give me Vlad in the 103.
What's that?
I'm surprised he's on a lot of these trades, though, because like he hasn't really done much. Like, I know the name just from base hype.
Yeah.
From Malik Washington.
Especially today. It's like Tyreek said he's coming back. Like,
that was one of those things like you were hoping Tyreek wasn't coming back, but now he's coming back. Like, he's gonna have his season just like he had last year.
Did Ladd outscore Brian Thomas? But it had to be pretty close if not. But
that's a good question.
Ladd just made the top 10, I think. Thomas was very much in it. They both ended up top 12, top 10, whatever. Number ones, I think. One more that I see, Brian Thomas in a second in 2025 for Jonathan Taylor, a first in 25, and Jalen McMillan, who is a hot name right now, with Godwin probably leaving. What do you
I'd
think
probably
about that,
take the
Jeremy?
Jonathan Taylor side. I'm getting, I think, 2 starters with the first round pick, and I could probably trade Jalen McMillan for something of use. I'd give me that side.
I think you get 3 starters in this deal for Brian Thomas.
Yeah,
easy. Especially if Godwin's not there, they've already kind of shown that McMillan's going to be that number 2. So, yeah, I love this side. I didn't mean to not pick anything from Brian Thomas, but right now his value is so inflated in my eyes. I guess
we're talking about like Jaden Daniels. Like, this is probably the highest their value will ever be, because even if he goes out and does better, this is peak value. Like, his value is not going to increase much more than this. It only can go down or level off.
Just like you're saying with Jaden. Sorry, Jeremy. 1 second. Just like you're saying with Jaden Daniels, like, he can only move up one spot, like one tier, and he's kind of already there. Like, Brian Thomas seems like he's right under the guys that we talk about all the time as the best in the game.
Yeah, and he's probably not going to get to the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase level with that quarterback play. That's what separates them out, and he's kind of where he's at. And this is if I had him, I would not be trying to acquire him at all right now. I'd be trying to trade him for, as you can see, basically almost anything on the right side.
Yeah. Jeremy, go ahead. Sorry about that. We're bashing you. I apologize.
No, that's fine. I forget what I was going to say. Okay.
Brian Thomas Jr., A.J. Brown, and Chase Brown. Brian Thomas Jr. in a third in 2026 for Brown, A.J. Brown, and Chase Brown. That's
Give me A.J. and
crazy
Chase.
to me. Huh?
Give me A.J. and Chase. I do think Cincinnati will draft a running back just to complement Chase Brown more, but I give me that. That's once again 2 starters for 1 easily.
Yep. All right, so kind of an idea. Wow, Brian Thomas, CeeDee Lamb straight up. That's hilarious. Sorry. Mm-hmm. That's the last one I'm going to look at because I can't do this anymore. So that's all the time we got for today. We will eventually play this game that we've been waiting to play, the KTC here, because I love to see where their heads are at for keep trade cuts and stuff like that. So, but we did run out of time. So, for Jeremy and Jimmy, I am Mickey. Make sure you catch us on YouTube, Apple, Podbean, and also check us out on social at dynastymttops. That's Blue Sky, Twitter, X, and Insta. And then shoot us an email if you want at dynastymttops at gmail.com. Again, for Jeremy and Jimmy, hopefully you guys enjoyed our mock draft. I'm Mickey. Have a great evening.